or jailbreak update, so we have a pretty big update here. New Blu-ray drive exploits for the PlayStation 4 by Gazin. This is a pretty big deal because it could potentially be used to load the LPS kernel exploit, allowing us to jailbreak up to 12.0 without requiring the Japanese games. Obviously, the most ideal solution would be a WebKit exploit, but I guess the next best thing would be a Blu-ray exploit. Because, of course, if you have a Blu-ray drive, you just need a blank Blu-ray disc to write the exploit. And if you don't have a Blu-ray burner, you can probably just buy a disc that somebody has already prepared, which probably would not cost very much money either. Cheaper than buying one of those Japanese games. So what we've seen here is that the developer Gazin, who is behind, of course, the Lua exploit with the Japanese game. Speaking of which, there has actually been a new game added to the remote Lua loader. We now finally have the Winter Guest game has now been added. So that's also been included there. But what we're focusing on here, of course, is the Blu-ray exploit. So this hasn't been released yet, but we have seen a video that was posted showing, first of all, running the Blu-ray player on the PlayStation 4. We've also got a remote logging terminal here on the right as well. So you can see when it loads, it exploits with Sandbox Escape. Then it also grabs the kernel, the send notification address so here. It can send a notify message, which it then sends the hello world test notification here. And then once that's done, it also gives you calling native function address, the buffer address buffer size, and then function returned O. So the developer also answered a few questions. Somebody asked up to what firmware this would work on, and the reply was all PS4 firmwares apparently. So is it basically a userland exploit until Sony patches it? And the response was yes, this is of course a userland exploit. And it is a patchable userland exploit, so if it gets released, then Sony will likely patch it in the next update. So another interesting piece of information here said that it is a different exploit, apparently to the one that the Flow reported, which we reported on in a previous news update video, that the Flow got a $5,000 bounty for a report 2 weeks ago. And it was not long after the 12.52 update came out. So it likely patched whatever this report was. Likely a Blu-ray drive exploit for the PS4. A userland exploit. And based on the bounty reward that was paid out, and also Zico found, the Java security file was changed from 12.50 to 12.52, also indicating a potential Blu-ray exploit on the PS4. That was patched in 12.52, but apparently this new one here from Gazin is different to the one that the Flow reported, as this one apparently works on all PS4 firmwares, whereas it would appear that the Flow's one was patched in 12.52. My initial thought was if it's not been patched, it's better to keep it private, so it can be used for future jailbreaks that come out on 12.52 or higher in the future. And then, of course, currently, we could hopefully get the Flow's exploit if that one comes out. Since it's probably already patched on 12.52, that would be the better one to be made public, so that we could use that one with the current jailbreak to jailbreak up to 12.0 without the lower game. But it does seem like the developer here might have actually reported this one to Sony via the HackerOne bug bounty program, in which case it will be patched in the next update after 12.52. Anyway, so the reason for this is that when questions, they've not been forthcoming about any of the information about how the exploit actually works, and have said that Sony would not like it. So they may have actually reported it via the HackerOne bug bounty program. And they've also stated that they're not interested in doing WebKit exploits because they have a lack of knowledge in that area. Also because Sony do not pay out for bug bounties when it comes to WebKit exploits, only for other types of exploits like Blu-ray and other userland exploits, but not WebKit. So that would suggest that they may have actually reported it, in which case it will get patched in the next update. So I guess it wouldn't really matter that much which one came out first, the Flow's one or this one, but either way, hopefully one of them will come out soon. So that will be able to load the current jailbreaks using the Blu-ray disc. And this developer has also given their opinion as to what they believe the Flow's exploit might actually be using, which may help us get access to that one sooner. So saying here that my 2 cents on the Flow's BDJ exploit is creates let method in this let manager.java. Just a blind guess, it will not work at PS5 because con.some.let package is not exported from the java.p module. There's also a slightly more detailed one on that Discord. Includes the actual path of the file itself, also included. So that might be the idea. trying to push people to figure out how to get the Flow's exploit working and make that one public, cause it's already patched, so that we could run the jailbreak up to 12.0 using that version. But that is the information that has come out right now. So potentially 2 new Blu-ray exploits. One from the Flow that's probably patched in 12.52. And this new one here that looks like is not patched yet on any PS4 firmware. Now, if you want to support the developer, I'll leave a link in the description. They have a buy me a coffee page here. So I'll go ahead and leave the page down in the video description here. Now, also a few other things to cover. We've had an update to the Labscore exploit from D-Link. Turtle is working on taking the old Mastercore exploit and using it to load the new kernel exploit. If you have the game Okade Shadow King, which uses that Mastercore exploit through a modified save file. So basically, if you have a license for that game still on your PS4 or PS5, you could potentially use this to jailbreak it, using the Labs exploit. Now, you can see here there's been a number of improvements. We have added the find current process function, added the payload embedding in the makefile. We also got a screenshot released showing Goldhen running. It has got to the point of being able to successfully load and run Goldhen using this exploit. Although apparently there are some stability issues still that are causing crashes and freezes right now. So that's probably why there's not actual release version available yet. It's still technically work in progress. But once those issues are ironed out, hopefully we will see a compiled version be made available. And then we might be able to use the Shadow King game also to run the jailbreak. So some pretty big developments there. There's also been a new release of the PS4 Syscon tools by Ofcarina. So this version adds support for detecting TNC clones. Also supports all TNC models apart from the TNC. Fixes a bug in the Get PS4 Syscon firmware. Info that does not report the Syscon debug mode correctly. Improves error handling. We've got a new logic. When detecting connected PS4 Cisco flasher hardware. Handles all unhandled exceptions. Added support for detecting connected PS4 Cisco flasher hardware model. And setting minimum PS4 Cisco flasher supported firmware versions to 2.05. And finally, it also reverts back to .NET framework version for 0.5. Pointed to handle compatibility issues reported by some users. So presumably people who are on older versions of potentially Windows having issues with running it on the newer .NET framework versions. So that's also been resolved. This is useful for repairing consoles and also for the revert method, for reverting your console back to a previously installed firmware, or restoring a backup Syscon and NOR flash, so that you can get back to a previous firmware that you made a backup of. Obviously, the Syscon writer is just for writing the Syscon, writing and reading to the NOR flash. You'll use something like the PS4 tools with Spiway OK. And finally, we also got this change image application from Master S or Master S9. This is just a quick little application to easily swap out the image file for your applications as well as the name that is displayed for the app. So I guess this is mainly in response to people who want to hide the fact that they have to have a Japanese weeb game installed on their system in order to run the jailbreak right now. So of course, you can change the image to something else like the Goldhen image, for instance, and then change the name of it to jailbreak PS4 or something like that instead. You could easily do this manually with FTP and by editing the database file, but obviously a tool like this just makes it a lot simpler. So anyway, definitely some exciting news of a potential Blu-ray exploit that will hopefully be able to use to run the Labs jailbreak up to 12.0 without having to require the Lua games, which will be a much cheaper and more accessible for the majority of people out there. Obviously, if you have a broken Blu-ray drive, other problems like you're not able to get a Blu-ray it could be a little trickier. But overall, it's going to be easier than having to get one of those Japanese games to be able to run the jailbreak. So definitely looking forward to a release of either this new or the one from the Flow that will allow us to jailbreak up to 12.0 using the Blu-ray drive. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this one or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and once again,